All right, I just want to preface this live stream by saying that I'm not a politician. I don't live in Barbados. I'm just somebody of Barbadian origin that lives in a diaspora that's concerned about what's going on in the country in regards to the not referendum, the transition from a Commonwealth state into a Republican state. And I want to give my opinions. I want to read some articles, get people's opinions, give my own opinion. I put a poll in the chat. And yeah, I think that's pretty much how we're gonna do it. So just kind of straight in. So the title of the stream is Mia's Republic. Essentially, what this is referring to is our Prime Minister Mia Mottley has declared that the country is going to become a republic, and she set the date for the 30th of November, which is also Barbados' Independence Day. So there's been kind of like a mixed reaction. I would say maybe even more so negative from what I've seen and from what I've heard from Bajans that live over there in regards to becoming a republic. And the most common thing that I'm seeing and hearing is that this hasn't been a decision of the people themselves that have said, yes, we want to become a republic. There's always been, for at least for these past few years, from what I've been reading and hearing again through news and talking to families, that there's been this talk for a while of the country becoming a republic, and now it's finally here. So it's kind of, in a sense, it's not like this is completely out of the blue, like, okay, we're going to become a republic. But Mia's kind of taken the bull by the horns and is saying, right, by Independence Day 2021, this is going to be, no longer in the Commonwealth. So I want to start by reading this article that the African Heritage Foundation had published on their website. So it's called Mia's Republic, a press release from the AHF. So let's see. Firstly, let it be noted that the African Heritage Foundation supports a change to the republic form of government in Barbados. So as you can see, this is probably like the 1960s, with Elizabeth going through what looks like Antigua with children waving Antiguan flags, as well as Union Jacks. So I'm going to try to get through this article as quickly as I possibly can. So, however, like many other commentators on this matter of the announcement made by the Prime Minister Mia Mottley on a day of our national significance, that we will be transitioning to a republic on November 30th, 2021, the AHF stands unanimously opposed to the exclusion of the voices of the population at large on this matter and the absence of educational information disseminated to the populace. Essentially, we think the government has made a unilateral decision as it has settled on the type of republic status and has named a date for the change. Some may argue that this has been a recurring conversation for the last 2 decades, with at least 2 commissions sanctioned prior to the 21st century to gather the thoughts of the people on the matter. If ever there was a wedge between, if ever there was a wedge issue in Barbados, becoming a republic would take the crown. To provide some context, in 1979, the Cox Commission found and reported that Barbadians of that time wanted to remain a constitutional monarchy. The 1996 Ford Commission recommended in 1998 that Barbados would move toward a parliamentary republic system. Do either of these views represent what the current Barbadian population think? Barbadians in my age, meaning to the author, in my age range, would not have been born or old enough to engage in this matter of the state. Consequently, many of us now have children eligible to vote, who too don't have any perspective of the decades of discussion and or commissions. Most who were young teens might remember the referendum conversations of the 90s. In 1994, BLP, Barbados Labour Party, led by Owen Arthur, promised via the party manifesto a referendum on the issue. A referendum act was passed into law in October of 2005 and proposed the question, do you agree with the recommendation of the Constitution Review Commission that Barbados should become a parliamentary republic with the head of state of Barbados being a president who is a citizen of Barbados? Without setting a date, this act specified that referendum day would be proclaimed by the Governor General and gave parameters for the setting of the date. The following year, Arthur again promised a referendum in his 2006 Independence Day message. In August 2008, a planned referendum was to be held but postponed on December 2nd, 2007. So that's Arthur, who recently passed away, former Prime Minister. That they will bring wedge issues to the table to be discussed. In the 2018 throne speech, Dame Sandra Mason, who's the Governor General, reads, "My government will consult with the Barbadians on major national issues such as the decriminalization of recreational marijuana and the questions of parliamentary reform, including fixed dates for elections and term limits for prime ministers. National issues like the legalization of marijuana still awaits the proposed referendum by the Prime Minister." In 2007, Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who was then Deputy Minister, stated on Starcom Network's Brass Tracks on Sunday that the government had completed the work on the draft constitution, but the government had not released it, largely because we committed towards a referendum on the Republic. Motley went on to say that in circumstances we will, in fact, therefore, at the timing of the next general election, have a ballot on whether or not Barbados should become a republic and give Barbadians the opportunity to make that judgment individually as we promised to do. Furthermore, she continued by saying, "We accept that there was a concern that the government alone should not make that decision this day and age, and we are therefore committed to expressing our views to the public and having them pass judgment on it." So that's Mia Mottley, the current Prime Minister. An issue regarding the status of our country's future is unilaterally decided under the guise that young Barbadians can aspire to become the President of Barbados. This indeed is a noble aspiration for any child. However, what concerns us is that the hastiness of this move, surrounded by the lack of public awareness and sensitization. The Prime Minister intends to amend our current constitution to facilitate the swearing in of a new president on November 30th, Independence Day, instead of having a constitutional reform, putting a new constitution in place, then transitioning into a republic. We have questions. So we're going to read these bullet points. Why is the constitutional reform taking place after the change in status? Constitutional reform takes months and years in some cases. The fact that many Barbadians are questioning what a parliamentary republic is should give any leader pause who is serious about maintaining an informed level of democracy. Why is the president to be elected by the Electoral College? And what, who, or where is this Electoral College? As a student of political science and an ardent lover of history, we know that one of the reasons the founding fathers of the United States of America designed the Electoral College was due to their lack of faith in the masses' ability to make the best decisions when choosing their commander-in-chief. Should we then infer that the PM doesn't trust the Barbadian masses to make our own informed decisions on who should be president? If we then decide by popular vote that we do indeed want to transition into a republic status, how will the presidential candidates be selected or elected? Will the masses get to democratically participate in elections of the president? Who will determine the structure of our electoral college? Will the now defunct Constituency Council see a rebirth? Will we continue with the first past the post, or will we have proportional representation? Who will the commander-in-chief of the republic be, the president or the prime minister? Will we also have the heavy separation of powers as it exists in the USA, or will the burden of nepotism continue in our new republic status? We've heard the rhetoric of moving Barbados to become, quote unquote, fully sovereign by the prime minister. Does the nation's sovereignty have grades? Can a nation be half sovereign or three-quarters sovereign? Were we under the impression that Barbados was a sovereign nation with its own centralized government? The questions abound. We have seen over the last 3 years this BLP-led government use their May 2018 victory at the polls to arbitrarily impose their will over the island. They have determined for the Barbadian population what our wedge issues are. We have seen bills go to Parliament and pass in one swoop, but the Barbadian population waits indefinitely for integrity legislation. We have seen constitutional amendments made to allow for the swearing in of two government senators. We've seen accused persons of a certain ilk walk free, while another caliber of individual is remanded for similar offences. We've seen, we have seen, and we have been holding stride. The majority of Barbadians are underpaid and overtaxed. The one thing that many of us held on to the fact was that our one vote would be counted. This arbitrary decision is tantamount to a level of disenfranchisement. We cannot support this move to the Republic status in the absence of public consultation. So that's the article that the African Heritage Foundation had put out. And I can see exactly where they're going. They've kind of surmised what I've seen and heard from family members and friends and so on and so forth that live back there, is that there's this lack of consultation with the people. And it's kind of weird because um, I participated in an event that the High Commission in this country were holding, the Barbadian High Commission, where they were consulting, Barbadians and others within the diaspora as to, ideas for what should go into the constitution. And then when I'm hearing that people on the island aren't really being consulted or educated about what this means, it's kind of surprising. Actually, no, I say it's surprising, it's shocking, but it isn't surprising in a sense where there's kind of always been, I guess, a disconnect. They have to keep the people ignorant. Well, in my opinion, they have to keep the people ignorant to a certain level so that they can continue to do the things that they do. So that's the first article. I do have a bunch of articles here. I think I'll read this second one that was written for Barbados today. Let me load up the screen. Now, me personally, just like off the bat, the DLP, they're just, this is two party state. So it's DLP, which is Democratic Labour Party, versus BLP, which is Barbados Labour Party. So anything that the BLP does, the DLP will come in and say, you shouldn't do that, and so on and so forth. It's just tit for tat. But it's weird. They have a point. They have a valid point when it comes to this, but sometimes I question: are they saying that for the right reasons, or are they just saying that because they are the opposition? So let me get into this article. So referendum needed on republicanism. Right, so not so fast. That is a strong message which the Democratic Labour Party delivered Tuesday to the Mia Mottley administration following its announcement Monday that this country will become a parliamentary republic on November 30th. In a press statement issued today, President of the DLP, Verla de Pisa, urged the government, to refrain from rushing into republicanism at this time and instead allow democracy to work by first having a referendum on the matter. Okay, so from that article, that's why what we've got is that there hasn't been a referendum. I've never heard of a referendum. I would have definitely been made aware that there was a referendum on this topic. So this is going ahead really without, again, the ideas, the views, and the opinions of Bajans that live there. This is kind of just, again, Mia Mottley kind of taking the bulls by the horn and saying, right, we're going to be a republic by the end of the year. So on Monday, Prime Minister Mia Mottley told a public event marking the National Day of Significance here that the Republican form of government would see the election of a non-executive president whose initial term in office would be 4 years, with a provision for an extension of another 4 years. However, de Pisa described as disrespectful and ridiculous the government's decision to settle on the Republican status and name a date for the change over without engaging the views of the population. Miss Motley, you have to revisit the relationship between the people and the government on this matter. There can there can be no greater disengagement from the people than to rule by edict. It runs counter to all the principles of democracy. This is a too weighty a change. This is too weighty a change not to be put specifically to the country by way of referendum, the DLP leader said. Now, just speaking on that, I find that a bit ironic because of people that know the last Prime Minister, that Barbados had, Frendel Stewart. His, in my opinion, and I've heard this from other people, and I've seen it actually as well personally because I was there for the last election season. He has a really, really huge communication problem. He doesn't communicate well. You don't hear about this guy much. When he was prime minister, you didn't hear much from him. He was just kind of doing whatever he wanted to do. Country was going broke, and then we hear about a certain minister getting caught up laundering bribes through New York and all this sorts of madness. But it's kind of rich from the DLP. But this is party politics, and so they're going to throw these things at each other on either side. But the DLP can't really go at Mia Mottley and say, well, you can't do this, even though it's a huge, huge event. The DLP can't really talk about communication on her side. So continuing, while reiterating the need for the change to a republic to be ventilated in the public domain, the president of the DLP warned the government that it's going down a rocky road. Our people need to be allowed to determine their own future, she said. The PISA also expressed skepticism about the change from having a governor general as head of state to the installation of a president. This runs deeper than a swap from governor general to president, but reaches into our civil service, police force, judiciary, and the director of public prosecutions. Any major constitutional changes should insist that our people are engaged at every level, and this government promised to come to the people in June and September. It never did, the political leader declared. She also noted that her party supported a Republican form of government, but not in the absence of public consultation. That is true, and I believe I've been hearing one politician, I think his name is Ronald Jones, if I'm not mistaken, that was always talking about the republic, Barbados becoming a republic while the DLP administration was in. So it's like, okay, we're seeing that, okay, there's been no consultation, but okay, I think this is going to be my final article that I'm going to read. Sorry for my poor reading, I'm really tired today. We've got another article from Barbados Today, which is, let's see, is it this one? Right. Here we go. So that's the Prime Minister. So Barbadians have to input a new constitution. Come November 30th, Barbados will complete its transition into a parliamentary republic with the swearing in of a non-executive president and a new constitution to be settled on immediately after. Those were among the several promises made Monday by Prime Minister Mia Mottley while speaking at a ceremony to commemorate the day of national significance. She indicated the government was moving full steam ahead with the move to becoming a republic, as initially disclosed by Governor General Dame Sandra Mason when she delivered her throne speech last September. I therefore come this afternoon to promise a few things: that on November 30th of this year, our great nation which we love shall become a parliamentary republic. Secondly, that the Cabinet has accepted the recommendations of the Fourth Commission with a minor modification, that our parliamentary republic shall have a non-executive president that shall be elected by the Electoral College of both Houses of Parliament, and that the president shall be entitled to serve initially for a period of 4 years and thereafter can be reappointed for another term, Motley said. Thirdly, that we will make the amendments to facilitate that transition to a new president to be sworn in on that day of November 30th of this year. And fourthly, that in doing so, that we start from December 1st the journey of the settlement of the new constitution of Barbados, which will be subject of extensive consultation and communication with the people of this nation. The Prime Minister further explained that over the course of the next 4 months, extensive discussions will be held regarding the move to Republican status and the new constitution. She said while a committee would be established to lead those talks, ordinary Barbadians would also be allowed to have an input. Wait, hold on, let me make sure. Right, so she said, right, okay, so it would be a committee to lead those talks, but regular citizens will be able to have their input, right? So that conversation will be led by the Republic Transition Advisory Committee, along with other members of civil society and the government, because there must be a charter of Barbados that is established and brought to our parliament before November 30th, such that we enter the morning of November 30th committed to the Charter of Barbados that reflects the essence of who we are and what we stand for, Motley said to rapturous applause. The Prime Minister said while there were doubters who questioned the need to become a republic at this time, it was a necessary transition. And for those who are asking what is all this? A nation cannot define who it is. Sorry, a nation that cannot define who it is, or what we have done, or what we stand for, and who we are as a people, will never be able to secure its way on the journey. It will never be able to do so, and therefore, across all boundaries and sectors and classes and ages and races in this society, we must, in the next few months, settle on those 1 or 2 pages that settle for us and the rest of the world what matters to us and what we are prepared to fight for as a people. And that is the bridge for the constitutional debate. Then that allows us to move from a constitution that celebrates the role of the government to a constitution that speaks to the role of governance and that sets out with clarity the roles, rights, and responsibilities of each and every Bajan. The Charter, however, represents the pledge to each other, the collective pledge of what we stand for and what we will fight for, Motley said. The Prime Minister revealed that the Charter would be non-justiciable. So I had to Google what that was, and from what I understand, non-justiciable would mean that I don't know if it's not legally binding, but I don't think it can be enforced by legislation. I'm not exactly sure what that means. So I don't know if anyone that is listening now or that will listen later can explain what that means. So to me, this is like a contradiction. So Mia Motley is saying, yes, Bajans can have a voice and will have a voice after this. To me, it sounds like she's saying after this goes through, then it's time to look at the Constitution. But this should have been something already done. Because when I was there for the 2018 election, I stayed for most of Mia Motley's rally that she had there at Black Rock, up by Black Rock by the Carlton supermarket, A1 supermarket, and they had a big event there, just up there by the hill. And this, I don't remember hearing anything about this, but anyway, continuing on, still, the people are saying one thing, the Prime Minister is saying something else. She is rushing to get this done by the end of the year. And for what reason? Now, I don't really want to read the next article because my eyes are playing up with me and I'm tired. But recently, we're getting a loan now from China to rebuild a stadium, the national stadium. Now, that's only one thing, but over these past, since the BLP came into power, we've been getting closer and closer and closer with China. The fiscal responsibilities, I think, of the government haven't really been that good. We've been doing a lot more spending. I believe the country's kind of becoming more in debt. There's more irresponsibility with the public purse. And obviously getting a loan during these times of a pandemic with a country that relies so heavily on tourism and that, the country is essentially looking to exclude a part of their market by saying if you're not vaccinated, you can't come. I'm not understanding how this is even financially sensible for Mia Motley's government to say, right, we're going to take this loan, we're going to become a republic. I believe, in my personal opinion, that this rush to become a republic, to swear in a president, and sort of the lack of transparency is basically to cement her power, cement herself in power and her party in power. Because like the article, I think it was the African Heritage Foundation article said, that last election, the election where she got into power, that was a sweep. If I'm not mistaken, she won every constituency, all BLP. Every constituency, they no one wanted anything to do with the DLP anymore. The DLP got washed out of Parliament, and I think Mia's gotten used to having all of her people around her, and it's just the BLP are ruling everything. And so, like the article said, because the BLP won in such a landslide, they kind of feel that, well, as long as the people voted for them, they can do whatever they want. And this is what's becoming problematic, because now putting something like this all the way through without really consulting the people, are we really gonna trust what Mia Mottley says in terms of, this is a politician at the end of the day. She's a politician. She's gonna say and do whatever she has to do to remain in power and to keep, the Barbadian people on her side, type of thing. But if people are saying, hey, we're not being consulted, we're not educated enough on this subject when it comes to becoming a republic, you're kind of forcing this on us really quickly. Sandra Mason gave that speech last year, September, and by, November 2021, is going through as a republic. This is too quick. This is far too quick. I tried to get my cousin on. I wanted her to join the panel because she lives in Barbados, and she's, she's quite into politics and is active and whatnot, politically active and whatnot. But she didn't want to come on, so I'm not able to get her perspective and kind of a deeper perspective, because she doesn't come from, she doesn't support the BLP party. She supports the other party. I would have appreciated getting more of her input on this, but I genuinely feel that this republicanism isn't being done for the right reasons. It's being done in order to draw us closer to China, because I think that us remaining as a Commonwealth, it still kind of creates a barrier. There's still that barrier between the UK and China, and obviously the US as well. It becomes very, very difficult. But this is why, me personally, I support, if we were to bring the Federation back, just kind of side note, if we were to bring the Federation back and we started becoming more productive as a region, rather than relying on tourism, we wouldn't really need to focus so much on becoming closer with China and, accepting loans and, quote unquote, gifts and all these different things. But let me see what the comments are saying. Yeah, exactly. What is going to be the progress? This is the thing. I haven't really seen anything progressive or productive of the island. It's only now that this pandemic has kicked in, they're starting to reach out more to the diaspora, I think. And it's just kind of, a thing of, oh, come to visit us, bring money, bring money. But okay, we're becoming a republic. Or we're just going to be a tourist republic. What does this really mean? Now, I get it. We're not as big as places like Trinidad or Jamaica or Haiti, where you have, more land space, or Guyana down in South America. But at some point, this I don't even think that necessarily becoming a republic is important. The government needs to focus on diversifying the economy, finding more productive ways of income, start to get fiscally responsible, because there is a lot of spending going on and loan taking in a time like this. As the article stated, and I've seen it for my own eyes, proof, the people are severely underpaid and overtaxed. If I'm not mistaken, because of the loan that was recently taken, the prices of gas is going to go up, food is going to go up, pretty much utilities, everything is going to go up, except for wages. There are issues of poverty in Barbados. That is true. The government kind of throwing, little construction projects here and there isn't really fixing the issue. These are things that Mia Mottley should be focused on, rather than trying to push through becoming a president. I mean, I haven't heard anything about an election, so I assume that she's just going to go straight through and just declare herself as president for the next 4 years, or however it's going to work. I don't think that this is going to be a good thing for Barbados. Not under Mia Mottley, and I don't even think under the DLP, to be quite honest. But it's up to Bayesian people to start making their voices be heard, because I think a lot of problems that Barbados faces is the complacency, silence. I don't know if it's a thing of fear, but Bajans are too passive. They don't say anything for it to be heard. You'll hear the rumblings amongst people on social media, in comments, and so on and so forth. When something goes wrong, it's kind of the backlash. But when it comes to things like this, I feel like Bajans don't make their voices heard. At the end of the day, people have to remember that our governments are supposed to work for us. So if you feel like the government aren't doing the right thing, if you feel like they're not educating people on what's going on with legislation, with this constitution as well, Bajans do need to come together, whether they're BLP supporting or DLP supporting, and say, hey, here's an issue. We need to have you address this and explain to us what exactly is this going to mean. Because this is too quick. Doing this within a year or 2 years is far too quick to reform a constitution, have people educated on the subject matter, do their research, give their opinions as well, because they were asking for the diaspora to, I think it was either you record a video or you can send an email or a letter in and say, give your suggestions. But we're not really that educated on these sorts of things. When was the last time that any kind of review like this was done? Probably independence in 1966. So what I will say is that Bajans, it's up to you. They're in Barbados, and if you're a Barbadian citizen, which I'm not, I'm working on getting my papers, but citizens, you guys have to make your voices heard. You don't have to go out there and obviously, be violently protesting, and I highly doubt that Bajans will, but you need to make Mia Motley's government, make your members of parliament understand that you are not going to go with this unless you're fully educated, and there should be a referendum. But it's up for the people to say that there should be a referendum rather than the DLP, because we also have to remember that this is party politics, and anything that they can call the BLP out on, the DLP are going to do it in order to curry favor onto their side. So it's down to the people. Do not rely on the government. That's another thing that Bajans do too much, in my opinion, is leave everything to the government, and this is what you get. I get it. Mia Motley, she had a way better campaign back in 2018. She did. I saw it. I was there during the election season. She did. Clean sweep, wipe the whole DLP out of the parliament. But that doesn't mean that she's going to do the right thing. You trusted in what she said. There are things, you see, this is the thing as well with Mia Motley. There were certain things that I liked that she began, but then as time has gone on, we're starting to see different things, like the topic of gay marriage and how it's illegal, or I think it's either gay marriage or just the act of being gay in public, I think, is actually on the books as illegal. And then to kind of, for the UN essentially was saying, listen, Barbados has a poor human rights record, which I think is ridiculous because it says it's illegal. Bearing in mind, from what I understand, this law isn't really enforced. It's just there on the books. It's been on the books for probably more than a century, I'm going to assume. And now this talk of, making it legal, but again, it's not really consulting what the people think. And, the church as well, which is a really big part of the country and people's lives, are saying, no, we're not for this. You're kind of putting this on people because of whatever so-called pressure that you're getting from the United Nations for allegedly having a poor human rights record, which I think is BS. There's that issue. There's too much. There's too much other things to focus on besides this this republicanism thing. So I think, if anything, at this point, keep the country. I would say keep the country as a constitutional monarchy for the time being, until people are educated on the subject, until a referendum is called, by the people. The people have to call for a referendum, not the DLP. Bajans need to call for that. Let them make their vote. If they choose, if they choose to become a republic, then absolutely fine. Whatever we get is whatever we get. If not, then respect what the people have to say. But Mia Motley, I think your first year and a half was good, but following on, you also started to make connections with West Africa, which is great, and then even in East Africa with Kenya, the CARICOM mission, so on and so forth. Great start to your career as the prime minister, but you're starting to get, you're letting the power go to your head, in my opinion, respectfully. It's starting to go to your head. Having all your people around you, BLP, they're kind of yesing you, say, yep, do this, do that. Don't worry, with BLP, we're in for the next 4 years. And I feel like you're kind of gassed. But that's pretty much it. I don't know if anyone wants to drop an opinion. Hopefully I got my point across. Excuse me, because I'm really, really tired today. I haven't had a lie-in in about 2-3 months. It's starting to affect me. That's the link there if anyone wants to join. But I don't know if you guys can see the little scroll thing at the bottom of the page. I was playing this game the other day. I live streamed it, called the Chiefs Table. If you like Mancala or Worry, whatever you call it, I recommend that you play the Chiefs Table. Visit the website. You can play the game online, or you can play it on Android. I'm not sure if it's available for Apple, but you can definitely play it online or on Android. Play. It's also, it's a African owned game. Yeah, great for 4K. I think, is it 4K graphics? I think it's 4K graphics. But yeah, definitely check out the Chiefs Table. Play the game. The multiplayer isn't working yet, but the single player you can verse against the computer. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I don't think I have much else to say, and no one's clicked the link yet. But yeah, I'm really, really tired. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we are all sleep deprived. We are definitely all sleep deprived. Me, I've got to work and I've also got to care for somebody, so it's like, ugh, I haven't had a break since what, April? I haven't had a break since April, so it's really starting to take a toll. And then also keeping up with all this politics and researching and reading and whatnot, it can get quite tiring. But yeah, I just looking at the poll as well. You know what? I should have edited the poll better because I didn't answer the question. So when people say yes, is it going to help or hurt? Are people saying yes, it's going to help the country, or are people saying it's going to hurt the country? Because I think at this point it's going to hurt the country financially for the future, and it's going to hurt the country in terms of the people not being educated and kind of being led into a position that they're not sure of where they're going. Yeah, just let me know. I don't want to talk too much on my opinions because again, like I said, I'm still waiting for my papers. They said that this year, people with grandparents, Barbadian grandparents, will finally be able to um, allow us to become citizens. Which is, again, I have my opinions, but let me just hurry up and get my papers, and then I can say how I feel. No, we're not ready to become a republic. We're not ready to become a republic. I mean, you know what? Let me keep on going because now I'm starting to feel myself waking up a bit. Because now I'm thinking like the we don't have the right people to take us in as a republic. Sorry, that was a little notification. We don't have the right people taking us into being a republic. I'm not understanding what the vision is going to be, where the country is seeing itself in X amount of years. Are we just going to continue to rely on tourism? Where's the diversification? There's an article again that I have up. I'm just not going to read it because I'm tired. But economists are looking at the situation financially in the country and saying, "Oh, we're doing a bit too much spending, and now we're taking on a loan from China to rebuild the national stadium." Which I'm not understand. Like, what's the point? What's the purpose? We have more important things to look at when it comes to the country. Why we are not addressing things such as the poverty, even re-education. The type of education that goes on, um, agriculture as well. There are all these different things that need to be focused on in Barbados. And you know what? As much as and I'm not gonna lie, I did support. I was happy to see that we were finally looking at becoming quote unquote fully independent. But I'm not gonna support that at the expense of people not knowing exactly what's gonna happen. What are Beijing supposed to do if they don't know? What are they gonna? What are they supporting? If this means that it's gonna become a BLP potential dictatorship, I can't support that. As much as I like some of the things that the BLP have done, at the end of the day, this is all politics. And it's just about who can stay in power for the longest and who has the most control. But, the people who get forgotten are the actual people of the country. And all the focus goes on what the opposition leader says, what the current prime minister says, and, who can sway the audience more. Okay, yeah, TVS, but what's your opinion though? What's your opinion on from what you've heard so far? So I'm saying if I could get somebody from Barbados to come on here, I'm telling you, I've been trying. My cousin, I've also tried some other people as well, and they're like, don't know if we want to come on this, blah blah blah. And unfortunately, I'm not there, so it's not like I can really go up to people and ask them. Yeah, I mean, manufacturing. The country can do manufacturing because in the past we've done it. It wasn't on a large scale, but you had, light manufacturing and furniture making and all these things. That documentary that I put in the server that the central bank had put up, they literally showed the timeline, the economic timeline of the country coming out of the sugar economy, going into, the time of the 60s when people also migrating, the country becoming industrious. And that's, our national motto is pride in industry, ironically enough. We went into the light manufacturing, the hand skills, just everything. We were creating things, electronic manufacturing, so on and so forth. And then we said, all right, screw all of that. Tourism. Let's focus on tourism. And I'm not sure how. I really have to question, even with that, was this a thing that was consulted on with the public? Or did they just kind of axe everything and just place tourism as the main focus? Because again, now in a time like this, what is tourism doing? A lot of people are out of work, had been out of work. They can't do anything. People working remotely from Barbados like that? Not really. I don't think changing to a republic will make a difference in ordinary person's life. It's mostly symbolic. Yeah, I mean, I guess I see what you're saying, but it. You know what? I think maybe on a larger scale, I don't know, because the country is so small. Because the country is so small, and like the African Heritage article mentioned, there is nepotism and these types of things, and it's kind of like when the room is small, it affects people. Kind of, there's more of an effect going on. Whereas if it was like the U.S., you've got the U.S. is a republic, and the president is kind of more of just a symbolic figurehead, but you have other people doing it. This is a really tiny country with what less, maybe just under 300,000 people. I feel like they'll kind of feel the bite more. And again, because Bajans don't really speak up, it's like, is she just going to take the country for a ride and kind of do what she feels is right without any consultation? I'm not so sure this is a good idea. Yeah, being a republic sorry, being a republic won't help without the correct leadership. And that's the thing. I'm really starting to question her leadership. But it's up for the people to question her leadership and say, hey, we're not feeling this. At the same time, it's kind of hard to question her when the previous government essentially robbed the country. The country didn't have no money. The country was in a lot of debt. I mean, the country's in debt now, but Frendel Stewart's government, you had Dunville Innes getting caught up in a federal case in the US, taking bribe money and laundering it through their system and getting caught and sentenced. I think he's in federal prison, I think, possibly. Um, so it's kind of hard, but I'm just not so sure that becoming a republic is really going to do the country any good right now. The focus should be on regional cooperation, diversification. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And this is why I think we can't keep operating as literally as just islands. We can't just focus on just islands in general. Just okay, we're this and you're that, and we're just our own country. This is why I think that we do need to kind of revive the federation so that we can all kind of work together and move as a unit because we face similar situations across the islands, some worse than others. Places like Trinidad are lucky where they do have a thriving manufacturing industry. They have gas. They've been doing their thing for many, many years. You can go into supermarkets and you'll buy stuff and it's made in Trinidad, made in Trinidad. I believe Trinidad owns a Republic Bank as well, which is a bank chain across the Caribbean. So Trinidad are doing well in that sense. So if we could come together, and as different islands, again, with the right leadership, this is what we have to remember, it's with the right leadership, the people can have a say and determine what direction that they want to go, then I don't see what the problem is with that. Then we can, that is the regional cooperation. We can figure out different ways to diversify the economy. CARICOM countries, you have different cabinet responsibilities delegated to different countries. So you have countries that are in charge of agriculture for the region. I think there's like IT and security and all these different things. But CARICOM, to me, it's just it's a symbolic union, but it doesn't really have an effect. I find it to be like a less ambitious version of the West Indies Federation, which I think should be brought back. They should bring back the federation. And yeah, definitely a healthy fiscal policy. I have to question whether or not these ministers are even competent, or are they just willy nilly spending the money and they just don't care? What do you think? What do you think Barbados could export besides tourism, in your opinion? Well, see, that's a good question. That is a good question. And to that, I'm going to say I don't exactly know yet. I don't exactly know yet. Now, we're limited on land. The island is just a coral, it's just a bunch of coral reef. It's not a lush green island, it's very flat. What can we export? I mean, it's tricky, It really is tricky because we're not that big of a place. So Michael, that might have to be a conversation in the server to be had, that we might have to figure this out. We may just have to figure this out. I mean, sugar, I think sugar's still, do we still export sugar? I don't really think that we do the sugar thing anymore, but I mean, it's always something, you know. Human resources, I guess. That's a good question. But you see, these are questions that should be proposed to ministers, politicians, people in government, and even prominent business people, rather than just allowing so much foreign investment, or these foreign people to keep coming in, coming in, coming in. That's a good. You're right, Mr. Uganda. I don't know, Michael. Do you have Do you have an opinion? Because I know Kenya, from what I read, Kenya, basically their biggest export is human resources, the people. Because I guess it's like if you don't really have much, you do have people. We don't have many people either. We got, like I said, probably under 300,000 people. But you know, yeah, definitely human resources can be something. But again, the manufacturing, we could bring in manufacturing. You see, Barbados has its kind of little history moments where, this is the place where solar panels were really developed. We had light manufacturing back in the day. I'm not saying that we have to stay stuck in the past, but if I know that we can do it, if we've done it before, we can do it again. So why are we not kind of, if we want to get so close to China, right? Here's what I'm seeing. If we want to get so close to China, why are we not doing what the Chinese did? The Chinese sent their people to the States to take the technology, learn it, and bring it back to China. People who hail from countries with less natural resources than others invest in the people heavily, but basically, yeah, exactly, exactly, and the people aren't being invested in. The people aren't being invested in, but trust me, the tourists are being invested in. The tourists aren't taxed enough, and I'm saying that from experience. I stayed. This was the first time that I went back to Barbados by myself since I was a kid. I stayed for 2.5 weeks, and I think I paid, was it 85 US dollars in tourist tax. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're gonna come to a country, if you're gonna stay here, if you're gonna enjoy the labor of the people and the natural beauty, guess what? You have to start paying some serious money. So instead of taxing the hell out of the people who are severely underpaid, and who will keep being told that the price of gas is going to go up, utilities going to go up, everything's going to go up. Foreigners coming in, making property prices more expensive. Beijing can't even afford to really buy land like that anymore. You have to invest in the people. And we really need to start focusing on, like, the republicanism should be within the people, I think, rather than the government. And what I mean by that is, republicanism, the right for self-determination, that should be more of a focus within people than the actual government to use it to their advantage. That's what needs to happen. But I think as well, the diaspora, the Bayesian diaspora, needs to also take more interest, and not, I would say more, we don't need to kind of come in and tell people what to do, but just kind of, how you can say, get involved and just become more clued up and aware on what needs to happen. Because my concern is that the more and more that the government invests in foreign people, they're the ones that's going to end up taking, they're going to replace the people there. Yeah, investing heavily in IT. Yeah, Kenya is doing that, investing heavily in IT. I mean, the world is going just complete computers and stuff like that. Why are we not catching up on that? We're slowly, slowly getting there. Very, very slowly. I do really have to question Mia Motley. It's a shame because, like I say in the server, I liked her initially. Got to get up and close and personal with her and stuff like that, and she seemed really cool. But I don't like the direction that she's taken. Like, she's gonna put us in the hands of China. But at the same time, it's like, who can Barbados turn to in the Caribbean? We're all kind of, again, our own little personal islands that aren't really working together. CARICOM have been saying for the past 40 something years it's about regional integration, and I don't really think that we've achieved regional integration like that. We just come together, at whatever summit, talk a whole bunch of blah blah, and leave, and that's it. Look at Haiti. We still have problems with Haiti, and Haiti's a part of CARICOM. So I'm gonna drop the link one more time if anyone wants to come on and give their opinion. If not, I'm gonna get off. I'm probably gonna go drink some coffee. I'm probably gonna lie down because I'm tired. I might have to I might do a stream covering the West Indies Federation of why we should revive it. Alan, I don't know if you're in the chat still, but we could probably do that and give our opinions on the federation of why it should be brought back, and kind of do a critique on CARICOM. Much appreciated, Mr. Uganda. I mean, people, you can like it if you want. I don't really mind about the likes. I don't really care too much about the likes. It's just I just want to give my opinion, but not too much of my opinion in case I don't get my papers. All right, I don't see anyone has hit the link, so I'm gonna draw a line here, and yeah, that's it. Bayesian people, make your voices heard. Let the government know that you're not sure of what's going on, how this can affect you and your future and your kids down the line. Um, Become more politically active, and Bayesians abroad, whether in the UK, Canada, US, or wherever we are, start getting more involved. Pay attention to the news. Get involved with your local embassy, your high commission events if they host any. The UK one is finally seeming to acknowledge us out here in the diaspora. So yeah, get involved. That's about it. I wish everyone to have a good night, and yeah, take care.